Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Ball Over Passion. I'm your boy at George V underscore AFC, and I am back with Curran at Curran TOF. I don't know how I'm going to introduce that now. It's a
I
new.
know it's new, isn't it? It's
How,
new.
how are you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Um, just readjusting back to being back. Um, setting up the Twitter, setting up all sorts of things. Bit hectic. A lot of laundry to do as well. So, yeah,
That is one thing that doesn't leave you as an older adult. It's the laundry. It
it's the
continues.
laundry.
It follows you.
Yeah.
Um,
Pretty
Look, I'm
relaxed.
I'm excited to talk to you because I feel like the one time that I love this section of the run-in, I feel like me and you offer different perspectives on it, and I feel like
Mm.
it's one of the few times that we can sit here and debate something that maybe we're not both repeating, and I love those because I love the friction part, and I think that there's a lot of people on your end of the spectrum, and there's
Mm.
very little people on my end of the spectrum, and
Mhm.
what I mean by that, to frame it, is I think this is a big game. I think there's a
It's,
lot.
it's an amazingly big game. It's a massive game.
It's a huge game. We've won something in the last 20 or 30 years. I think we've won 4 times at Old Trafford, and I think that it's never been more than a 2-goal margin in those 4 times, and, I believe that there's a lot of people right now where I'm gonna come on the perspective we absolutely should be putting the expectation of a win on this game. But there's a lot of people nervous, and there's been a lot of people nervous for this run-in. They highlighted these games, right? Like, the United is the last of these games. We've got through the North London derby. We've got through Chelsea. In the run-in, when we started looking at it at the beginning of the season, we all said maximum points to build a moat because of this run-in and this reason, right? And I think we're now sitting on something, what is it? I think we're at 29 out of 33 available points against the
Mm.
Big Six, something like
Yeah.
that.
No, I think that's exactly the correct total. So,
Yeah. So we are big team slayers in a sense, and we've done really well. Where's your head at in terms of contextualizing this game? Where's your head at in terms of contextualizing the Fulham win in general? Actually, you know what? Let's tackle that first because I feel like
mm.
Old Trafford needs its own 10, 15-minute rant. But from a Fulham perspective, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've always felt like I think that expecting a loss or expecting a draw, where are you at with managing expectations, what we should be happy with? Um, which I think there's still some disagreement in terms of the fan base. Like I've seen a couple people switch, not you, but in general, people that were originally very negative on the run in,
Mm.
then got excited because we've put ourselves in a position to be here, have said, yeah, we're doing it. And then now I'm seeing the same people go back and say, no, it's over after a Fulham win. Um, how do you manage the yo yo? Because I know my robot nature to affecting this run is not the normal for a lot of people.
Look, I'm an old man, right? I don't really have uh, these kinds of up and down. Look, I think in terms of Fulham, the game that's just happened, all it's done for me is it's annoyed me regarding our own performances versus Fulham, because these guys, especially the August performance, were there for the taking. It's not like we were playing as 10 men. It was a silly corner to concede in Palinho. And the funny thing is defensively we've been amazing on set pieces all season. And funny enough, that Fulham game was an example of just a boneheaded moment.
What do you say to the people? Because I want you to talk on this. Like, we're going back 5 months in
Mhm,
prior, okay,
mhm,
right now to isolate moments in a title race, right?
mhm, mhm,
And let's say City win it and they do the unprecedented, by the way, for them. They go on an unbeaten run that both Pep and Man City haven't done yet. We've pushed them to make history, right? Where do you stand on this black and white, achieve or not achieve? Because for me, it's really frustrating to hear that we're going back over 5 months to isolate moments when City are
mhm.
gonna be doing the same thing if they drop as much as a draw. Or like, where's been I've really felt like there's been this new discourse that you're crap if you don't win the league. Like, City should not do that. If City lose the league,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that they're crap. We've been pushed to the last day of the season, mate. Like, this title race in terms of having 3 people in it this late has not happened in years. Why do we sit there and say that it's a bottle job or it's failure for people that don't achieve a trophy? Only one team can do it every season. Like I don't understand. Maybe it's a disconnect lately, but I don't remember back when I was younger and when we were competing with the United that we called when we won it United bottle jobs. We just said it was a great fight and we won and we were the better team. And we shook hands after it. Like where do you stand between criticizing a bottle and criticizing the mentality of a team against what's just been a very good opponent? Like George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, when you see big fighters go up and they go 10 rounds, you're not sitting there saying, "Yeah, he was a bottle job. He didn't come up and turn up in that moment." No, you've got 2 fighters that have been brilliant and they go to the last round. And there has to be a winner because this is sport. This isn't a participation trophy. But I mean, fundamentally, if you're able to push a team to the last day, surely there's got to be a little bit of context involved about failure, bottle jobs, and expectations. No?
I mean, when we were growing up, I mean, like, we're older in comparison to a lot of the people watching here. When we were growing up, there wasn't uh, an environment where it was basically built on controversy. It's built, the whole environment is built on sell the controversy, sell this, sell that. And we are in an environment, whether it be on YouTube, on Sky Sports, or TNT, wherever you are, where the narrative is either you're a winner or it's failure. That's it, because that's what sells. Because you can sell a bottle, you can sell a inability to finish the job, you can sell whatever narrative you want. You need something to sell, and when you have something to sell, then that's the narrative that runs. You look at these guys on whatever podcast you want to look at or wherever you want to go, and it's just no one. It's not about the football. It's not about the football. It's about trying to get a rise out of people. That's all that Twitter is. That's all that YouTube is. That's all that mainstream media is these days. So when you ask me about why this happens, I don't give a shit. I genuinely don't. I care about what I see. I cared about what I saw 3 years ago when we started on Twitter, when we started the channel. I'm not here to argue with people. If people want to have a conversation and look at things and do things differently and have a discussion, sure. But I'm not here to argue with people. If you think that coming with 89 points, which has only been bettered by the Invincibles by Arsenal, if you think that's a failure,
That's on you. That's
on you. That's not on me. That's on you.
Yeah.
If you want to look at the best team in terms of underlying metrics all through the season, and you think that's a failure, that's on you. If you want to look at things in a different way, that's on you. That's not on me. That's not on you. Okay, so I just think it's very simple. It's not something where you look at things and look at it and go and say, this team has done terribly. This team has evolved from what it was from the start of the season, and it's not what it was before.
And it will continue. It will continue to evolve. And I think the only reason I start this discussion is because I just think there needs to be a level of fair expectation where, as a fan, we need to be able to evaluate what we're doing in this moment. And we need to be able to praise what deserves to be praised, and we need to criticize what deserves to be criticized. So I think when we start to analyze the season, we're going to come back, and there's going to be lessons we're going to learn, lessons to improve. There's always a reason to improve. And you know what? I'm going to keep this same energy because even if we win the title, mate, that process still occurs. That reflection process still occurs. There's still things to criticize. And even if you win a title and you win the achievement that you're looking for, this process doesn't stop. And I just find that there's a lot of results-based analysis lately that is centered on achievement.
It's not just the result-based analysis. It's the fundamental ignorance that is implanted in the fan base. It's a fundamental forgetting what would happen before.
Entitlement.
But the thing is, it's not just that. It's a fact that people have forgotten. Like, I don't want to put things on specific players, but I can look at Anfield and look at how Salah went against Zinchenko. I can look at Fulham at home and look about that corner and how we defended. I can look at the inability of our attackers against West Ham, the physical fatigue we had against Fulham. I can look at specific matches and have specific reasons for why we drop points. And But when you look at these things at the end of the season, if you look at it from a general perspective, it's just, oh, we didn't beat Villa. That's the only reason why we lost. Or we went to the Etihad and we drew. That's the main reason we're losing the title.
Maybe we've got 43 points in 2024. We've lost 45 minutes of football in 2024. Manchester City have actually lost more points in 2024 than Arsenal have. And, I think when you look at it, what you say is a lot of truth. And I'll end on this because you do have to get to Old Trafford. Fundamentally, what I looked at is you need to be challenging for the title. We needed to manage Europe. I actually don't think that this season the cup competitions hurt us in the league. We never had to make a choice. We actually did strongly field 11s. That fundamentally, a little bit of experience, you could say, a little bit of a lack of maybe coaching management at times were the reasons why we maybe didn't progress to what we felt like we could have. But mate, quarterfinals in the Champions League and the first time that you've been back in over a decade, that's not failure. That was a success in terms of a European campaign, something that this club has struggled with historically. And it didn't derail the title challenge. We're still in it within basically the last day. And it leads us to this Old Trafford trip. Mate, when you start to look at it, we had a little bit, I don't even think it's a debate, but, I'm confident. I don't hide it. I always am confident against these games. And, I look at the record. I respect the record. But I'm just going to come out and say it. The PTSD that I've seen from a lot of people against Old Trafford has been crazy to me when I look at the type of team that we're facing here. This isn't even the same Old Trafford atmosphere and allure that we've seen in the past.
No.
Now, they are the worst defensive team in 2024. They concede the most shots in the league. They have the worst defensive record of the most XG against. They are a team that suck at defending cutbacks. Arsenal are the best cutback team in box entries in the Premier League. They are a team that are really poor against set pieces. We are one of the best set piece teams in the league. They are a team that do not know how to maintain their compact shape. And Arsenal are one of the most compact teams in the league. These are unobjectable facts. This hasn't even talked about the game quite yet. But where do you stand on being confident, not arrogant? Because I think we can't speak in absolutes right here. And you have to respect the game. And I'm happy to discuss battles that are important. This is where my gripe switches, right? Like if you want to talk Rashford versus White, open conversation and fair concern, valid concern. But what I struggle with, mate, and I'll be honest, is I struggle with this platforming the PTSD fear above the facts of the season. The facts are they are this record with the defensive team. The facts are they struggle in these particular game states that we are absolutely phenomenal at. So where do you stand on balancing PTSD, and where do you stand on maybe some of the facts that I said? Are they incorrect? Or
no, of course they're
feel about
correct.
that?
I watched once I got off my flight. I watched the Palace game because I missed it, and
Yeah,
I wanted to watch it, and I really wanted to see what is happening, what is going on with, and they're just so bad, man. They're really bad. Just as a team, they're really, really bad. And the main thing for me, it's very simple. They cannot defend the middle. They can't. When you build, as we build, with two players in the middle, they struggle to. They struggled against Wharton, for example, the game what I watched. They struggled to just pick him up. There was no one picking him up. He was constantly in space. And if Henderson didn't boot it consistently, there was always a ball on to between just behind the press and through the line, because they leave such massive spaces in the middle of the pitch. And we have people that can run. We have runners in the middle of the pitch. So I just think that's a major thing to watch for. Obviously, the no centre backs thing, we don't know who they're going to field. Will Lissandro play? I doubt it. I think he's been ruled out. Evans and
Casemiro. Evans and Casemiro in terms of the center back partnership. And look, beyond that, mate, it's just the space that they afford in midfield is really, for me, the killer. You can never make a successful team without having compact lines. And that doesn't even get into the build-up issues that they've got in terms of
I have some
front.
Give me a sec.
And I think as you're searching for those pictures, the one thing that I've always felt like is we could even give them the ball again. I think the part of the reason that Ten Hag, by the way, continuously references that game is a lot of people felt like Mikel wasn't aggressive. I actually felt like Mikel was beyond arrogant in the refers fixture. Do you know how rude you have to be to basically say, "Here, have the ball. I trust that you're going to screw up with it." Like from a coaching perspective, it is actually the worst thing that you could do, give your opponent the ball. Well, I mean, there's confidence because I don't think that they can do much with it. Look, on the transition, they are a team that can hurt you on the counter. If you make it a basketball game and you make it a game where you focus on moments and running in transition, it's a team that can hurt you. I'm looking at Marcus Rashford, who again is in poor form, but he's somebody that has a really brilliant battle against Ben White every single time for some reason. Bruno Fernandez is somebody that I think can do moments, and I think that he's not somebody that you're going to worry about affecting the general play, but he is somebody that can find space and find a moment, and so controlling those moments is going to be really, really key. Um, I I think fundamentally, when you have a look at the best parts of United and the best parts of Arsenal, our press is something that we can always rely upon. Our concentration of our block is something that you can always rely upon, and our ability to prevent opponents from taking good quality shots is really going to be the key here. I think David Raya is going to have a really important game in terms of judging those distances well, because I think that they're going to try to kind of feed in Marcus Rashford in behind, or even Hoyland, even Garnacho. They're going to try to find space and wide spaces in the channels, and so that's going to be really, really important in terms of blocking out that entry pass. But Curran, for you, mate, who do you think is going to be the most important battle? And
Um,
would give me a score.
I think the main thing for me would be there's going to be two for me, one from our side and one from their side. So one from our side will be Havertz on Evans. I think that's going to be a massive thing. If we can just get him just on them, I think that's fair. And the obvious one is Rashford versus White. If Rashford does play, I think that's a major thing. I have found these, but I'm going to warn everyone now. They're not the most the prettiest pictures I can find. But yeah, my thing is very simple. Just make sure you don't concede early. Try to make sure you manage the first part of the game. I think we're very good at managing the game away from home in general. So there's always going to be that fear of, don't let the occasion get to us. I think there's, as you mentioned about the PTSD from prior, you don't want to get involved in those kinds of battles early on. So I think the main thing for me is just make sure that you can just try to manage the first 15, 20 minutes, really get at them. Don't let them get out, because I think the one thing they do have is the ability just to drop and then hit. And we saw that against Liverpool. They were very good at just snatching the ball in deep areas and trying to run with it. So I do think that's something to have a look at and make sure that you don't really allow them just to get into their groove. I think Ten Hag has really, I mean, this is something we do need to talk about as well, really made sure to hammer to his players that this is the game. Like
It's their final.
It really is, and I don't understand why you have an actual final.
Yeah, this man who's sick always steals my individual battles. This is something that I said in the group chat. I think Saka is going to score. This battle against Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to have to be their key. I think that the blindside run off Aaron Wan-Bissaka is where I'm hoping for a clip ball from probably Ben White, or a slipped-in ball from Martin Odegaard. But that kind of blindside run off Aaron Wan-Bissaka is absolutely something that we have to look at. I think that from a defensive point of view, they're going to try to do the same theory that they used with Tomiyasu against Salah, right? Like that's the theory behind it. But the way to get around that is through running off kind of your blind side. And so I think
the other thing is to make sure that you block that channel, as you mentioned. Just block that channel, because they're going to try to put Rashford in that channel on the other side. I think that's it just has to be something you watch. I think that it's the main thing. But I have some stuff. We can comment as you want. Again, not the prettiest, but we'll do what we can. But yeah, just early on, you can look at their structure and you can see how, like, if you look at how they're
Look
trying
how
to manage.
rude this Palace setup is, by the way.
You
Brilliant
know,
job blocking the center. They realize that there's no in ball really. Kobe Mainu and I think Casemiro there is kind of left in acres of space, and I think
mm,
you see this constantly, and it wouldn't surprise me if Mikel adopts a very similar mid block approach here because they have an inability to play through the center of the pitch, and I think that when you have a look at it, this is going to happen quite a bit, but they're just going to look for balls over the top and they're looking to win the second balls and join on moments. And so that's going to be a difficult thing. But sorry, I
but
cut you
yeah,
off.
no, pretty much word for word what I'm going to say. But the one thing I would add is if you look at how high Mount is and you look um, where the pivot is, they're trying to get Mount into positions where he can affect on the left channel, and he was just blocked out the game because they couldn't. They kept going over the top, and it was just not. You could see it from minute one. It was never going to be an angle that was on, and but yeah, I just wanted to point that because these are three pictures together. So basically, if you look at, you can see the defender in possession passes it back to the goalkeeper, and you see the space in behind. If you look at behind Mount here, you can see the spaces that are behind between the first line and the second line. So it goes back to the keeper, they recycle, and then behind Mount, there's just this massive space. Mount is number 7 in the middle on Wharton. And what I was trying to point out is that Wharton has the ability just on the half turn just to spin Mount and then just run. And we have players that can do that as well.
Which is crazy because look at the distances of Palace. By the way, Palace build-up distances. It's not great.
Mm,
It's actually really rude.
yeah.
Again, they're playing high and they're saying, okay, you know what? We've got enough quality in the back to basically find people behind this first press, and I
Mm,
think that's going to be the key for United, generally speaking. Where I think they do meet you high off the build-up, and I think that if you're able to get in behind after their first pressure, they have just an inability to keep their defensive line and midfield line compact. So get behind that, you're going to have a lot of joy. And I think that also set pieces, mate. Set pieces is something that I really think that not a lot of people focus on. They just are such poor claimers of crosses from Onana, but also even their center backs. They're not dominant. And I just feel like there's going to be a set piece goal. There's going to be a Bukayo Saka goal from an off the ball run outside of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And third one, I think it's going to be a cutback. The way that they defend cutbacks is so poor. And I can just see a Martin Odegaard from the left-hand side cut back across the face of goal. And I think those are
yeah.
my 3 goals, and,
Mm,
unfortunately, I do see a, consolation goal. I do see it from Marcus Rashford. I think he always loves playing against us, and I do see him coming on later in the second half to basically, catch us on a counter, but it will be a consolation goal for me, and I think I will go with my favorite scoreline that I always do in these matches. 3-1 is the scoreline for me. Um, how about you, mate? How do you see this game going?
yeah. I mean, like in the group, I kind of facetiously said 1-1, but like if we're looking at it
I'm just gonna
in
kill you.
reality, in reality, I can see us winning this 2-1. I think it won't be a runaway game, but I do think we start early. I mean, just look at the spaces they leave. Like Wharton here is just, he has the space and the time just to hit them. And it's very simple. You win a duel and you're off to the races. Matata's just in. Like these are very easily exploited spaces because they leave so much distances between the first and second line of their press that even if you win any duels in midfield, you're running at them. You're just running at them. It's that simple. And the Mateta goal, if you go look at the highlights after this, go look at the highlights. You see the Palace regain this one pass, I think, and then the ball gets played between the lines to Mateta, and he's free to shoot. And it's that simple. Mateta just does Evans completely. Like I don't know what's up with that guy,
Look,
but he's going crazy right now.
yeah, look, I think that there's just a lot of 1v1 individual battles that we're looking at that is going to be brilliant. I think Onana is going to give us an ability to compete on set pieces. I think that from the back line, their fullbacks are something that is going to be an issue for them. And I think centrally speaking, Declan Rice and Thomas Partey give them that kind of space and time. They're going to hurt you. And so I'm really not worried for this game. Fully happy to have my chest out. I think that if you respect the basics of the game, you're going to do nothing but walk out with a very confident win. And I think um, it would be nice to break the hoodoo. I don't think we often escape Old Trafford with very big score lines, but it would be nice to revenge a couple historical games of the
Mm.
past. But again, I do want to caution. I don't think that we've had like something like 4 wins in the last 20 years at Old Trafford, and in each of those we haven't cleared a 2 goal margin. So to expect an 8-2 is something that I think going a little bit in dreamland. That's probably where I
But
agree
you
with
talk
you.
to United fans, and they're just convinced that they're losing 5 or 6.
Well,
Which
that's something that I'm not sure I'm with personally. I think Chris has got
Chris
a
is.
different opinion
Chris
on
is
his
saying
scoreline,
5, but
but
I'm not there. I'm 2-1. Just
you're 2-1. Are you is it a close 2-1?
no. I think it's very reminiscent of Spurs, but Spurs had that sort of, after the goal, they had that sort of, run at it. I don't think they United have it in them to have that run at it for the
Yeah.
equalize. I think it's like 2-1, and then maybe 85, 86, they get one, and maybe there's another chance. Very reminiscent of the Emirates game, except we scored a third.
The funniest things I feel like Ten Hag has got a real hatred for us. And the funny thing is I actually think that he'll attempt his best coaching job at this game. I can really see it. He's not somebody that I think um, he's got much to fight for. I'll be honest with you. He's basically knows that he's going to be out of a position this summer, and he's saving face. A lot of the comments that I've seen in press conferences are like really odd, looking over your shoulder insecurity comments, and
Hmm. No,
um,
it's more than that. It's even more than that, because similar with Poch, these guys are just like, we don't know whether that we're going to be here, so we're just going to say whatever's on our mind, like
yeah,
whatever comes to mind, because we don't even know if we're going to be here. Why hold back? I've never seen a season where so many managers just do not give a shit. They just don't give a shit. They're just like, I don't give a shit about the media. I'm going to say whatever I want, and
you
it
know
is
what?
what it
Fair play. If someone's gonna, if you're gonna like back that chat, I just think he's so disingenuous in his analysis. It's difficult to hear. But you know what? I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I feel like if you got slammed constantly day in day out, and you had basically rumors going around without your bosses be addressing it, I can understand there being a frustration. It is the business, but it's not right. Like absolutely, I think that um, you're looking at more respect probably from a base level in any position that you're doing it. But this is football. Your job and the entertainment business is in the limelight, so you got to essentially
is.
deal with
Mm.
that.
Last thing we do before we do go, um, I'll answer this first. And go. I mean, I I don't care anymore. I just don't care. If they drop points, they drop points. My goal for the season was very simple: get it to the last day of the season and see what happens. I just don't care. If they drop points, I would love it. It would make my world complete, obviously. But I want 6 points. That's it. Get me 6 points. If you can get me 6 points and show that you can take it to make them make history, if you do that, then whatever happens, happens. And
That's been my line.
they
In
can,
order
they
to get
can,
us
they
to
can
make
drop
history.
points. Of course, they can drop points. They have this weird thing with Spurs where they just drop points. I don't know whether they drop points. I just don't care. I, I don't even know if I'll watch the Tottenham game. I just don't care. If they win, I'll tell you this one thing. The the policy I have is 10 minutes to go, I'll check my phone. If there's a chance, I'll tune in. If there's no chance,
By
I'm
the
not
way,
wasting 2 hours.
if they then go on to lose,
Mm.
I'm blaming you. You're the reason for only coming in 10 minutes. Um, So no, like listen, I think the pressure is something that you got to relish. I think there's a lot of fans right now that look, I get it. You grow up not winning things, and to be so close, it feels as though this is the only time that you can do it. I get it. I'm not like obtuse to it. I get why you have this feeling like it must occur, but I think that just the due process that we've done this season makes me confident that titles are a guarantee, not an if. I've seen enough this season that we've gone on to basically lead the league in pretty much most metrics, and I think um, when you look at a team that's just so young, that's taken the next step like we have, I think Ben White's become probably the best right back in the league right now. You've got Trent, who will have a shout for it, but hasn't been there consistently with injuries, and there's so many players on our team that are going to compete for those titles, the best in their position, you know. Um, and and I just think that we've got a team right now that's built to basically recruit a transitional inevitability, and you're there. And you're there to basically once we've got that secured, I don't see this team carrying many holes. And I think that this is really just the beginning of a lot of what they want to do. And you know, the funny thing is, mate, Mikel hasn't been able to show his theory of this season. Timber and Partey being out means that we haven't seen really the plan A and the evolution. You know how we talk about evolving? We
Mm.
haven't seen what he planned for this season. We simply haven't. And that's kind of the funny thing to me when I start to think about reflections. But I think that's another pod. Look, to end it, let's hope that we go and we approach the game in the right way. I think the boys will. I really don't think. You know what I love about the run-in, and I know people don't agree. When you face big teams like this, mate, there's no way to be complacent. Old Trafford and the occasion doesn't allow you to be complacent. So I
Mm.
know the boys will be fired up. And you know that's something that, you know, you could actually take as a negative. You know, do they need an occasion to get up for it? But I think it really benefits this team to basically be in the driver's seat for A, being the underdog, chasing. I think that's huge. By the way, I don't know how we look defending a lead. Like if we were in City's position up into this point, how do we deal with that pressure? I think it's very different. So I think it's beneficial to us in that sense. And then lastly, I just want us to have a really good game where we're sitting there and mate, it's United. Anybody that's a true and old Arsenal fan knows that they are the true hatred. They are the true ops. There's no other op
Yeah.
as bad as United. And I want a humiliation. I don't care about the score line. I want a humbling.
You know what I'd love? You know what I'd love? You remember that City 2-0 from a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Where they just completely just were like, screw it, we're not even playing anymore.
Yeah.
We'll pass between ourselves, you lot can just chase it for about
Want
half an hour.
Olays from the 60th minute. I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
a 3-0 up, 3-1, Olays from the 60th minute, and I want Old Trafford to leave. I want them to leave, and that will give me plenty of joy to sink my teeth into. But mate, thank you for joining us. Thank you everybody in the chat for joining us. We really appreciate you guys coming in and sticking with us. Hopefully, we can come back with you guys with a historic clash, but a historic win to take a little nod to our title. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We love you all. We appreciate it. And we'll hopefully be back after it is Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1. Peace.